Hello, my name is Peter Corless. I'm a game designer, author, internet consultant, and founder of the Global Understanding Institute. When I was growing up in the 1970s, the world was facing some severe crises. World War III was not just a bandied about slogan, it was a game that I could buy in my local Toys R Us from Simulations Publications Incorporated. I played that when it came out in the 1970s. And the thing that I couldn't figure out was why the game designers didn't figure out that we didn't really want to win World War III, we wanted to prevent it. I played other games, World War II, World War I, Vietnam, ancient battles of civilization. And in all these games, I couldn't figure out why the fighting couldn't be stopped beforehand. Many of the games that were supposedly diplomacy games were focused upon winning the best conditions to go to war, and then getting the best war reparations after the war was concluded. None of them were precepted upon, let's avoid the war, or very few were. The history of wargaming goes back well over a century, probably back to the days of the Napoleonic Wars, when Kriegspiel was invented by the Prussian military command to enable their generals to simulate and learn the strategic art of warfare. Little Wars, a book by H.G. Wells around the turn of the last century, was a tactical simulation game using small lead soldiers to represent battle units, infantry, cavalry, artillery, same kind of things that one would see in a Risk game, but on a tactical battle level. This led to the modern art of military miniatures gaming in wargaming. All of these games, again, precepted upon the peace was impossible to maintain. How are we going to win the war? St. Augustine, who was writing during the time that there were barbarian incursions across all the Roman Empire, was trying to posit what was the purpose of war in people's lives. St. Augustine, to paraphrase his philosophy, said that war was prosecuted not for its own sake, but to achieve a better peace. That is what he foresaw as the just war, a concept that was then taken on by other Christian philosophers at the time. Perhaps there was something in what St. Augustine said, that war is there not to be an end of itself, but to achieve the best peace possible. The Global Understanding Institute, which I'm founding this year, it is still in the pre-corporate state, is an organization dedicated towards monitoring, analyzing, and making suggestions for the global conflicts and crises we're facing today. Whether at home or abroad, the world is facing crises it never had to face before. One of those crises, for instance, is the issue of the clash of cultures. We've heard this in the concepts of East meets West. We've heard this in the book McWorld versus Jihad. We've heard a lot of these things. Is the clash of cultures any greater today than it's been before? The answer is yes, there are more human beings today. Does it need to be any worse than it has been on a per capita basis in the past? The answer is not necessarily so. It is up to us to choose how we're going to respond to these crises. Are we going to meet this with the same kind of genocidal war and hatred that it was met with during, let's say, the Age of Rome, when there were entire tribes and peoples exterminated? The term used was to plow their fields with salt. Or shall we come up with more enlightened ways of solving our global crises? Population and overpopulation, water rights and water usage, water purification, food and the rights to achieve food and the distribution of food, social justice, economic opportunity, true liberties, and not just those that the state feels is convenient to give to their populace so long as they don't get uppity. These are the crises that we face on a global basis, and we can also take a look at home, each of our homes, education, health, the right of having our houses, our homes, our apartments, or to be forced to live on the street. What rights of basic shelter do we have in our states, our countries, our cities? What rights are there for opportunity to marry or not marry? That goes for people who consider the traditional concepts of marriage, as well as those who have non-traditional methods of marrying. For instance, it is Western tradition that it would be one man and one woman. That's not so in the Islamic world. The Western world could condemn Islam for having multiple wives. There are also some cultures in the world where multiple husbands would be the case, or open marriages. And the question is, what kind of freedoms are we going to guarantee for non-traditional marriages when we meet them with, let's say, a Christian attitude or an Islamic attitude? That's just one of many types of crises the world is facing, a clash of cultures. There's a clash of cultures also in the terms of rich versus poor, ethnicity versus ethnicity, religion versus religion. The Global Understanding Institute's mission, when founded, will be to help us face these crises and to help offer problem-solving resolutions for them. Not that we can solve all world hunger or that we can solve all warfare. There will be people who are so maladaptive and cruel that they will refuse to stop firing bullets even when asked nicely. There will be people who are so bent upon amassing wealth that they will do it at the expense of thousands or millions dying starving in the streets. We can't stop all of those people. But if you are a concerned citizen of the world and you're interested in influencing that outcome, that is what social game theory teaches us. That each of us has a vote in our wallets, in our voices, in our walks of life. What we do and how we do it will influence the outcome of this great experiment in humanity. If you wish to find out more about what I'm trying to do in terms of social game theory and how it applies to influence the outcome of the fate of the world, please go to globalunderstandinginstitute.org. You can also email me at petercorless@mac.com, or you can leave a message below and I'll try my best to read them. Again, 6 billion customers is a lot to have. But maybe if I had more people in the global understanding movement, a couple of us could start chipping away at the big problems we're trying to face. 6 billion customers is a lot of people to serve. The question is, do you want to help me start serving them? Well, let's do it with a little bit of fun and games to begin with. I'll teach you more about that and the project called Razumian. Razumian means I understand in the language of the West Balkans. I'll talk about that more in the next video. Take care and good night.